There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. The special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. The special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our minds. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. The special things I compile.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Online Summit on Technology for Inclusive and Innovative Education. Today, we are honored to be joined by representatives from UNESCO, governments, universities, and Huawei, as well as experts, scholars, and partners from around the world. They will share their views and experiences on how digital technology can enable inclusive and innovative education. My name is Emilia Sun, and I will be your host for the summit. Today is International Youth Day, an awareness day designated by the United Nations. This year's theme is Intergenerational Solidarity, creating a world for all ages, which emphasizes that solidarity across generations is key for sustainable development. It also highlights the need for collaboration to foster strong and equitable intergenerational relations and partnerships to leave no one behind. We know that education is a top priority for young people. With much of the world still feeling the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, young people and children remain vulnerable to falling behind in education. Has the education system recovered from the shock caused by the pandemic? Has it become more resilient to deal with potential large-scale disruptions in the future? What roles can digital technology play in the face of these challenges? I'll now give the floor to our guest speakers. First, let's welcome Ms. Stefania Giannini, UNESCO Assistant Director General for Education, to deliver the opening speech.
Excellencies, dear participants, it's a real pleasure for me to address the opening of this third edition of the TECH4ALL Summit. Well, this year, the topic, Technology for Inclusive and Innovation Education, resonates with the upcoming Transforming Education Summit, a key initiative I'm sure you are aware of, launched by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to actually recommit to education as a common good globally. Over the last 2 years, the acceleration of digital transformation has continued to affect almost every facet of our lives, every dimension, and is also very much true of education. And we are clear about the challenges. And now, as we recover from the profound impact of COVID-19, we cannot simply go back to business as usual. We must build back different and better education systems. We must transform education accordingly. So we need a paradigm shift towards systems that are more open, to systems more flexible, holistic, putting learners at the very center, the very core, and respecting their differences. UNESCO's flagship initiative on the futures of education, which has been launched 2 years ago, 2019, mobilized countries and the international community in its effort to reimagine education. Technology can play a critical role, a catalytic role in the largest system of force to transform education, to reimagine education, as long as it's a tool in the service of the humanity and not the other way around. Digital learning and transformation is one of the 5 thematic focus areas of the TESS, the Transforming Education Summit, this September in New York. UNESCO hosted, as you maybe know, the pre-summit last June, 28-30 June in Paris, that gathered some 154 ministers and some 2,000 participants in person to take stock of the current global dynamic around transforming education, and most importantly, to identify key transformative action solutions ahead of the summit. They agreed that investment and actions in digital learning should be guided by the 3 core principles. Let me mention them. First, center the most marginalized in policy and strategy. Second, ensure free, high-quality public digital education platforms or learning content. Third, ensure the requisite innovation in pedagogy. Well, these recommendations from the consultations include the need to ensure connectivity and digital learning opportunities for all, to build and maintain robust, free, public digital learning content and platforms, and also to focus on how technology can enable evidence-based instructional practice at scale. Strong partnerships and cooperation are required to make this happen. The IT industry should make more free and low-cost digital solutions available for digitally marginalized groups, while creating applications to address various forms of disabilities. And what's actually happening also in this partnership between UNESCO and Huawei. And I'm very grateful to Huawei for the great cooperation we are having. The project, Technology-Enabled Open Schools, is enabling the emergence of future schooling models. It's also evidence of the fruitful cooperation among countries, partners in advocating for equal access to connectivity nationwide, the development of free public digital learning content, and the strengthening of teacher-students' digital competencies. Of course, we must continue. We want to continue working together towards the digital transformation and innovation in education, which really leaves no one behind. I wish you a very successful Tech4ALL Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Giannini, for your wonderful speech. As Ms. Giannini said, technology can play a critical and catalytic role in education transformation, and digital learning is pivotal for a more inclusive education system worldwide. We need to use technology to ensure connectivity for all, build free public digital learning content and platforms, and focus on how technology can enhance innovation and change in teaching methodologies.
Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Kevin Zhang, CMO of Huawei ICT Infrastructure, to share his thoughts with us.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Tech4ALL Global Education Online Summit. I can't agree more with what Ms. Giannini just said. As a global community, we needed to recommit to education and put learners at the center. Technology can play a critical role in this transformation. Huawei is very proud to take part in the Technology-Enabled Open Schools for All project with UNESCO. Leading up to the UNESCO's Transformation Education Summit, the theme of today's event is Technology for Inclusive and Innovative Education. I would like to take this opportunity to share what we are doing to support education around the world. As a tech company, digital inclusion is an important part of our work. Back in 2019, we launched the Tech4ALL program to help promote digital inclusion around the world. Education is one of our key focus points. We work closely with partners to enable equality and quality in education for learners from all backgrounds. We do this in 3 ways: connecting schools, promoting digital skills, and supporting STEM curriculum. Digital technology is key to these efforts, in particular connectivity. For example, in Kenya, about 75% of the country has 4G coverage. But in this countryside, less than 3% of the primary schools have internet connections. In the middle of the pandemic, online classes were not an option for many communities. To fill this gap, in 2021, we worked with the local government and partners to connect 13 schools with reliable broadband connections. With internet, more than 6,000 teachers and students now have access to quality online resources for the very first time. Of course, connecting people isn't enough. The skills to use digital technology are just as important. Even in highly developed countries like France, only about half of the population has basic digital skills. To fill this gap, we turn old shipping containers into mobile training centers called DigiTrack. They drive out to remote communities and provide free training on how to use the internet, email, video conferencing, and even some basic coding skills. In just 6 months, our DigiTrack in France has trained over 1,500 young learners in 9 different cities. We want to help level the playing field as these bright young minds enter the workforce. We are also working with partners, help schools develop digital curriculum and boost STEM education. In China, for example, teachers and students in rural communities have reliable internet access and solid digital skills, but they still lack quality STEM coursework. This is a serious disadvantage for rural students. To help fill this gap, we worked with local teachers and partners to develop STEM courses that help students get up to speed on new technologies. This project has already reached 500 students in 6 schools. As we expand our work, we hope to inspire more young students to learn about science and technology, and maybe one day pursue a career in STEM. All told, working with more than 20 different partners, our TECH4ALL program has helped bring accessible, equitable, and quality education to more than 400 schools. In total, we have touched the lives of more than 100,000 students, teachers, and employees. Of course, this is only the beginning. We needed to do more because technology truly has the power to transform education for everyone. Digital tech like broadband, AI, VR, and blockchain can help improve efficiency, personalization, emotion, and quality assurance in every step of the education process. Every small step counts. We are eager to work closely with all partners and transform education and make it a more equitable and innovative space for all learners. So, please join us, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin Zhang, for your insightful speech. As Mr. Zhang said,
digital technology is developing rapidly and is being applied to education programs worldwide. This will help make education more inclusive and innovative. We all hope to see more and deeper collaboration between the technology and education sectors to unleash the potential of technology in promoting the digital transformation of education. Next, let's welcome Mr. Jean Ntim-Forjo, Deputy Minister of Education of Ghana.
I am excited to be part of the 2022 TECH4ALL Education Global Summit. I bring you warm compliments of the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and the Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Yaw Osei Adutwum. Ladies and gentlemen, COVID-19 pandemic hindered the global economy in many ways, of which the process of teaching and learning has not been exempted. Indeed, COVID-19 has been the greatest disruption in our education sector throughout history, affecting the estimated more than 1.2 billion students in over 190 countries and leading to a sudden shift towards the use of online learning. The pandemic has brought along much uncertainty and changes to the education sector that could be long-lasting and that may reshape education forever. Within the Ghanaian context, many institutions have experienced a season of transition regards to moving to a sustainable process of digital learning and teaching at all levels, from pre-tertiary to tertiary. And the government of Ghana is at this point embarking on digitalization agenda across all sectors at the strategic and policy levels, with education as a key component. Learning a contemporary education system is occurring in a connected world. hence the need for action on how these technological systems can be used to enhance teaching and learning in our institutions effectively. With emerging technologies and some difficulties associated with physical interactions in our educational system, e-learning can provide comparable access and quality education for all. Learning online helps to augment education and technology and also enhances student-teacher interactions compared to physical engagements. Huawei and UNESCO are working together on the TEOSS project, that is the Technology-Enabled Open School System, together with the Ministry of Education, and it is a program that we are very much excited about. The purpose of this project is to provide reliable connectivity to all schools at the pre-tertiary level especially. We are now at the piloting stage where Sandlos, which is our implementing agency, is implementing it and rolling it out. The purpose of this project is to pilot, test, and scale it up. With the current demand for tertiary education as a result of increased senior high school enrollment, adoption of technology as a tool for learning can increase access to tertiary education. And we are excited about the support that the UNESCO Ghana office is giving to the implementation of the TEOSS program. E-learning, for instance, offers a reliable source for accessing course materials and information to enhance the learning experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the growing demand for the use of technology in learning has resulted in an evolution from the use of desktop computers to mobile devices, from which learners can access courses anywhere at any time. The future demand is directed towards micro and self-directed learning, personalized and adaptive learning, utilization of open educational resources, OERs, massive open learning courses, and augmented realities, where learning is achieved through digital visual elements for physical world experience. Indeed, there is greater recognition for informal learning, for skill development, and enhanced workplace performance through digital learning experiences. Virtual schools are organized in the cloud, thus saving institutions from the challenges associated with server acquisitions and huge financial obligations. These are some of the innovations that the President of the Republic and the Minister of Education are currently engaging on and ensuring that we see these innovations at work in all our schools. Ladies and gentlemen, the acquisition of knowledge in the area of technological advancement has been the major driving force of the fourth industrial revolution, and it will continue to reshape our world. As a matter of fact, countries that fail to embrace this trend are likely to be left behind. The United Nations 2030 agenda recognizes the need to develop societies through unlimited access to knowledge, where everyone has opportunities to learn and engage with others. Education in every sense is one of the fundamental factors of development. No country can achieve development, sustainable economic development, without substantial investment in human capital. UNESCO has predicted that in the next 30 years, more people will receive education than we've ever recorded in the history of mankind. However, Education Commission also contends that if nothing changes by the year 2030, more than 825 million young people will reach adulthood without the skill needed to thrive in today's world. Government is therefore committed to make this narrative a reality through the Education Strategic Plan that aims at changing the current status quo of 40% 60 humanity to 60-40 in favor of science. Research by the World Economic Forum estimates that 65% of children entering primary school today will find themselves in jobs that do not exist, and that new jobs are emerging, and these are technologically driven, and therefore it is upon us to ensure that we align the tools of our education today to meet the changing demands. With the current rate of growth in technology sector, future educational technology is going to advance the quality of education and even the ways we teach and learn. The future of technology of education is about adapting to the fast-changing world, giving students an opportunity to choose their own way of learning, always considering the current demand on the job market. And this is why that we are particularly happy that Huawei, through its inventive programs such as this one, TECH4ALL Education Global Summit and the TOSS, has emerged as a key player in leading this technology-mediated agenda with the great support from UNESCO. I thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Ntimfojo. The key of the open schools concept is to build an open education model with technology. Under this model, schools are no longer simply a physical venue for learning. They should also be able to connect school-based and home-based learning to ensure the continuity and quality of learning under both normal and crisis situations. Now, Mr. Martin Kangania from the Ministry of Education of Kenya will talk about how Kenya is using technology to make education more inclusive.
My name is Martin Kangania. I work with the Ministry of Education Kenya, the National Coordinator of the Digital Literacy Program and the Project Manager for School Internet Connectivity, DigiSchool Pilot project. Under the Digital Literacy Program, this is our flagship program under the Government of Kenya, Vision 2030. The main objective of the Digital Literacy Program is to enhance provision of quality education through ICT, integration in teaching, learning, and education management. The project aims to entrench learners with their 21st century skills for their future productivity in the economy. Digital literacy is one of the 7 core competencies under the Kenyan competence-based curriculum, which is under implementation at the moment. When we look at the overview of the Digital Literacy Program, this is a program which has been and is being implemented by the Government of Kenya. It entails a provision of all public primary schools, connecting them to electricity through the national grid, or for the far-flung schools which are very far away from the national grid, we connect them through solar. The project also entails provision of projectors, these LCD projectors, laptop for the teachers. We refer to them as the teacher digital devices. The learner digital devices, which are tablets, a content server, and access point that hosts a digitalized curriculum, which has been developed by the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. The Ministry of Education in Kenya, through the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, the organization that spearheads the development of a curriculum in this country, has developed a Kenya Education Cloud, which hosts updated and interactive content, as well as various online administrative systems. Currently, building on what the government has invested into the digital literacy program, we are engaging to see that there is internet connectivity to the schools. If we look at the numbers, the statistics under the digital literacy program, what has been done, we have installed schools, the schools that have been installed with the devices that I've mentioned above. We have installed about 21,717 public primary schools. That makes about 99.9% of the public primary schools which have been deployed with these devices. 2, we look at another aspect of digital content. The Ministry of Education through KICD has developed content for grade 1 to grade 4, and actually under the new curriculum, the competency-based curriculum. The training of teachers, which is ongoing, About 218,000 teachers, 253, have been trained. This is normally spearheaded by Teacher Service Commission, which is the entity that employs teachers, and also they have done the teacher training in terms of ICT integration, in terms of teaching and learning, research, and other aspects of teaching and learning. Another component of digital literacy program is the connecting schools to electricity, provision of power to electricity, and I've mentioned we have got 21,588 schools that have been connected to electricity out of 22,258, which are still to be connected. This has been occasioned by the continuous registration of new schools in this country to expand enrollment and to improve access to basic education. So you find that new schools are coming in place. Therefore, not all schools have been connected to electricity. Besides that, connecting the schools to electricity, we also have part of these schools which have been connected to solar energy. When we look at the final aspect or the final component of the DLP, we have the digital devices which we are providing to schools. We have provided about 1.2 million learner digital devices across the country, all the corners of this country. We have provided also 48,000 teacher digital devices across the country. Now, building on that, the investment that the government has put in place, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of ICT Authority, UNESCO, and Huawei formed a collaborative initiative to provide sustainable internet connectivity to schools, which is a high-speed broadband of a minimum of 100 Mbps, which actually has been done in phase 1. It is done either through the optic fiber or through point-to-point microwave technologies, enabling access to Kenya Education Cloud and other government systems. If you look at this arrangement, this collaborative arrangement, the Ministry of Education and Ministry of ICT, the roles and responsibilities include where they mobilizing the Ministry of Education staff, making sure that the teacher training is organized, and supporting monitoring and evaluation in data collection. The ICT Authority has deployed ICT officers in the field or out in the counties, and it is them that we are relying upon them to provide technical support for this project. The project is also utilizing the 9,000 kilometer government fiber optic and maintaining connectivity and equipment that are being provided to the schools, and also they support ministry, monitoring and evaluation for the project. Huawei, a key partner in this project, in this pilot project, DigiSchool Connectivity Project. Huawei has supported, given technical assessment, solution design, and project management and delivery. They have also provided connectivity to NOVB, to schools by fiber optic, by fiber on point-to-point microwave, and they have also provided equipment to enable schools use Wi-Fi at the school level. And UNESCO have given advice on school selection, and also they have supported the partners, the partners and the ministry and the government by extension to give the technical support on monitoring and evaluation activities. So under DigiSchool project, we have got a number of activities that we have done. We have done school assessments. This is whereby the officers from the Ministry of Education, Ministry of ICT, Huawei, and UNESCO have visited the field to do assessment to the schools, actually before the schools were selected. Installation has been done through optic fiber, where we have had digging of trenches to establish the fiber, establishing microwave installations to offer connectivity, and also eventually the deployment of ICT equipment. After all this was done, and we were sure that the schools could access internet connectivity, then we had a major launch to the schools, the target schools across the country for the phase 1, whereby we had the ICT cabinet secretary, we had the principal secretary in the line ministries providing that support. And then after doing all this, we look at also at the impact of what is happening. We are seeing more use of ICTs in teaching for the teachers, in learning for the pupils in the schools, and also in the support they are getting, the technical support they are getting from the ICT officers and the ICT teacher champions that are spread across the country. We have also an advocacy in media, which promotes, in print media, which promotes and gives the highlight of this project that is actually ongoing. So what are the benefits? I think I need to mention a few of these. The learners have been able to use internet to do research in the internet. They have also been able to use the devices to take photos, upload them, and even do presentations. For the teachers, they have been also able to offer communication and enhance their teaching through research and also sharing the information among themselves. That is a teacher-to-teacher support, which is very, very critical. And in administration, we have been able to witness improved access to online National Education Management Information System, that is NEMIS. We have TPAND and NEC assessment portals, and also we have got the registration of candidates, which has been facilitated by this facility. Overall, under phase 1 of the DG School pilot project, we have we have been able to implement this project in 13 schools, and about 6,000 plus pupils have been, or learners have benefited from this project. Let us all connect schools and ensure no child is left behind. That is the driving motivation, the driving force, the vision behind this project. And the government of Kenya will continue working with UNESCO, Huawei, in the phase 2 of this project, whereby we are looking at, besides including regular schools in the new project, phase 2, we are also looking forward to having hearing impaired learners from the special schools to access internet connectivity and provide also video conferencing for support of teachers and learners to reap the benefits of this. Evidence from one of the teachers, Eunice Nganga, a head teacher at Maragima Primary School in Nyeri County, a testimony of the project. She says the teachers are not only accessing teaching and resources and guidelines, but also incorporating interactive learning methods in teaching. That is the comment from one of the head teachers for the schools that benefited from this project.
Our learners only can learn well by doing and by seeing. And being in a rural school, that is a village school, we do not have many things, as in we get our knowledge only in books. You teach something, they haven't seen it, they have never seen it, so it is abstract in their minds. And so I was able to show them some videos, and it has been good. It is creating interest in the learners. Whenever we get any strange material from the books, we are given a link there in that book. So we are now opening those links, and in every teaching subject now, I mean every teaching subject, including even mathematics. So we are integrating ICT in every learning area in the school.
Overall, I would like to say that these are a big initiative, a big collaboration, and I hope that as we get along, we continue engaging and making sure that we raise the ICT in education agenda in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Kenya has been building network connections for schools and providing training in digital skills for students and teachers. This has helped unconnected schools access Kenya's education cloud platform, where digital education resources are available. We expect that these programs will bring positive changes for local students. After talking about how to resolve the challenges to education brought by the pandemic, we may ask, what skills do young people currently need most? Next, let's invite Mr. Jean Détier, founder of Association MOUs Connect and We Take Care, to introduce their project in France.
We Take Care is an NGO created 7 years ago to massively support the social actor helping people acquire basic digital skills. We develop an all-in-one free access platform in which you find all pedagogical contents to support on basic digital skills, and we also perform a set of virtual classrooms dedicated to our digital champion community. We Take Care as a team of 40 people. We are present in France and in Belgium, and more than 1 million people was already helped with our educational tools. One of our best projects is the DigiTruck, developed in collaboration with Huawei. The DigiTruck project in Ile-de-France consisted of traveling to 9 cities to offer free training in the basics of digital technology in a container converted into a connected classroom. The project targeted, in particular, the priority district of the cities. DigiTruck offers a flexible à la carte training program with several levels and several teams. The training were given all day from Monday to Saturday. By placing this highly visible truck in the heart of the neighborhood, where they are in the greatest need, the objective is to have an accelerated effect on these disadvantaged people into 2 to 4 weeks. Our collaboration with Huawei is perfect. On the project, our team on the ground worked in a close proximity with Huawei teams. We Take Care brought the expertise in the social world, and the Huawei teams were essential in associating communities with the project, engaging local authorities, and strengthening communication about the project. The project has a great impact in a short delay. In 21 weeks, 1,600 people were trained. Well, different type of profiles, elderly people looking for autonomy in their day-to-day lives, active people from whom mastering the basics of digital technology is essential for job hunting, and children and their parents to discuss the dangers and the opportunities of digital technology.
Je me présente, Amar Boularas. Je suis en retraite depuis juillet 2009. J'étais cuisinier, j'ai fait toute ma carrière dans la restauration. C'est une lettre de Boris Vian que je suis en train de recopier, comme ça pour apprendre à taper sur un ordinateur. Aujourd'hui, ne pas maîtriser le numérique, on se sent en dehors de la société. Ça a commencé par les impôts. Moi, je fais toujours sur papier. Et justement, la dame, elle m'a dit, on passe au numérique bientôt. Essayez de faire une formation. Je me suis inscrit dans des ateliers. Bon, c'est pas pour devenir informaticien, mais connaître les bases de cette nouvelle technologie.
Depuis 2 ans, la crise sanitaire a accentué la présence du numérique dans nos vies. Mais cette dépendance aux outils technologiques a aussi révélé une fracture. 17% de la population française vit encore éloignée du numérique, avec souvent pour conséquence un risque d'exclusion sociale et professionnelle.
Cet après-midi, on va voir la recherche sur Internet. D'accord ? Donc rechercher sur Internet, on va voir les bases déjà. Qu'est-ce que c'est que Internet ? Qu'est-ce que c'est tout ça ?
La notion de fracture numérique, c'est avant tout un discours politique avec des pouvoirs publics dès les années 90 qui s'interrogeaient sur un éventuel risque de fracture entre les personnes qui pourraient accéder aux technologies et les personnes qui en seraient exclues. Et on s'est rendu compte à travers les recherches que la fracture numérique n'était pas quelque chose de figé, mais qu'elle se déplaçait aussi sur la question des usages et évidemment sur la question des compétences à se saisir de ces outils.
Combler ce manque d'accès au numérique est l'objectif de l'opération DigiTruck.
Le DigiTruck en fait prend la forme d'un container reconverti. On a fourni des équipements qui sont tous reconditionnés. On a choisi de prendre la forme d'un container qui du coup est mobile puisque ça nous permet d'aller au plus près des publics qui en ont besoin. Donc nous, l'enjeu avec le DigiTruck, en tant que grande entreprise de la tech, c'est d'aller se placer dans les quartiers prioritaires de la ville où on a une forte concentration de personnes qui, de par leur situation, n'ont pas accès à ces compétences numériques.
Ok, tous les deux là, vous voyez, vous faites les mêmes exercices, c'est les trois. Les trois. Okay.
Dans les années 60, les gens ne savaient ni lire ni écrire, on leur écrivait des lettres, tout ça. Et là, je suis arrivé au point, je peux dire que je suis illettré numérique.
Merci beaucoup, c'est terminé pour le cours sur la recherche sur Internet.
Je pense qu'on va prendre un temps, faudrait qu'on dorme un petit peu là.
On va faire une pause de 10-15 minutes et après on va faire un cours sur acheter sur Internet de manière sécurisée.
Il y a du monde ce matin, c'est quoi déjà la formation?
En fait, normalement, c'était censé être...
À postuler en ligne.
Mais...
mais là, c'est pas la cible.
Non, du coup, on va faire ce qu'on a prévu hier. Donc, c'était les bons plans sur Internet et payer sur Internet.
Ouais.
Et ça, ils avaient...
On a souhaité proposer des formations à la carte, c'est-à-dire que les publics qui viennent au DigiTruck, ils peuvent venir piocher dans le programme de formation pour aller apprendre des choses spécifiques qui répondent à leurs besoins. Donc on a une grosse partie de formations qui sont sur vraiment les basiques du numérique. On a aussi des contenus vraiment sur la sécurité des données, comment est-ce que je navigue en toute sécurité. Donc ça, c'est vrai que c'est une forte demande aussi des novices du numérique, on va dire.
Quand vous faites un achat sur Internet, il faut bien vérifier que l'adresse sur laquelle vous êtes, il faut qu'il y ait écrit HTTPS.
Oui.
Ça veut dire sécurisé. Depuis 2 semaines, on a surtout des personnes seniors qui veulent ne plus être en difficulté et ne plus avoir à demander en fait à leurs proches et ils préfèrent venir demander aux formateurs ici dans le DigiTruck.
J'aimerais bien, par exemple, faire la feuille d'impôt. Comme en France, on aime la discrétion. J'aime bien la faire moi-même. Je ne veux pas faire appel à une tierce personne. Il y a des nouveaux termes, des nouveaux mots. Par exemple, arrobase, on ne l'a pas connu à l'école primaire, moi. Par exemple, dièse, on ne l'a pas connu à l'école. Le slash, on ne l'a pas connu à l'école lorsque j'étais jeune.
Vous avez vu, il faut ouvrir un nouvel onglet, il faut cliquer sur le petit plus qui est là. Et on va faire la question suivante.
Quand on dit onglet, moi dans la restauration, c'est un morceau de bœuf. Il s'écrit de la même façon.
Le bouton rouge, il sert à quoi?
Alors attends.
Ah, tu
Eh
sais.
bien écoute, j'ai appuyé et c'est éteint.
C'est pour raccrocher, exactement.
On a un acteur partenaire qui est TECH4ALL, qui est très expérimenté en termes de contenu de formation et de médiation au numérique. Et on travaille aussi au maximum avec des acteurs locaux à l'échelle de la ville où on va se rendre, qui connaissent très bien leur public et qui connaissent très bien leurs besoins.
Madame Amélie, voulez-vous me dire comment faire pour obtenir un extrait de naissance?
Oui. Alors vous allez aller sur le navigateur internet, donc Firefox par exemple.
C'est Firefox.
Voilà.
J'ai cliqué 2 fois comme vous m'avez dit tout à l'heure.
Vous allez aller sur la barre de recherche qui se trouve en haut et vous allez taper rechercher un extrait d'acte de naissance. Donc je vais vous laisser l'écrire.
Oui, oui, bien sûr, bien sûr.
La numérisation des services en ligne peut avoir comme conséquence de provoquer une double peine chez les personnes, par exemple en situation de précarité sociale et professionnelle. Dans la mesure où ce sont ces personnes qui sont les plus éloignées, ou en tout cas qui éprouvent des difficultés à accéder aux outils, mais qui doivent y accéder pour percevoir leurs aides sociales et réaliser leurs démarches administratives quotidiennement.
La fracture numérique, ça concerne en majorité les seniors, les plus de 65 ans, mais en fait, c'est beaucoup plus que juste une histoire de génération. Ça concerne aussi beaucoup de profils plus jeunes qui n'ont pas eu la chance d'avoir un accès à une éducation dans le numérique quand ils étaient plus jeunes. Et c'est aussi ce genre de profil qu'on souhaite attirer au DigiTruck.
Après 3 semaines dans le nord de Paris, le Digitruck va poursuivre sa route dans d'autres villes d'Île-de-France pour accompagner de nouveaux publics vers l'autonomie numérique.
J'ai beaucoup aimé le principe du coup de pouvoir amener la salle de cours, la salle de classe dans les quartiers qui en ont besoin. Donc ça, c'est la première fois que je fais ça. C'est un peu la surprise chaque jour de voir qu'est-ce que je peux leur apprendre et qu'est-ce qu'ils peuvent s'apprendre aussi entre eux.
J'ai appris le copier-coller. Je ne suis pas encore en mesure de faire Excel, par exemple. Là, non, pas encore. On fait ça pas à pas. Je peux dire la vérité quand même. Je tape qu'avec un doigt.
Thanks to Huawei Super Team. Hope we'll continue our collaboration in other locations in France for a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Dadier, for sharing your experience with us. Digitruck is providing digital skills training to young people in communities with limited network access through mobile solar-powered classrooms converted from used shipping containers. This not only helps bridge the digital divide, it also enables unemployed young people to improve their competitiveness in the job market. By June 2022, Huawei had partnered with more than 2,000 universities and colleges around the world to build Huawei ICT academies. The aim of this program is to provide students with hands-on experience with ICTs and cultivate technical talent. The Bandung Institute of Technology in Indonesia is one of such institutions. And now, Professor Reni Wadahati Kusuma, Rector at the Bandung Institute of Technology, will share the Institute's experience in talent development and her views on future education.
Good morning. Thank you for this privilege to speak to all of you today in the Huawei TECH4ALL Education Online Summit 2022. In this happy occasion, let me talk about what Institut Teknologi Bandung, or we call ourselves ITB or ITB, we have been striving these years, that is to become future ready, to be locally relevant and globally respected as well. Sped up by the COVID-19 pandemic, digital transformation has become a necessity for all of us in educational institution and also in ITB. We have to change, we have to transform ourselves to thrive now and also in the future. So broadly speaking, this involves transforming all its elements in synergy. They are human capital, technology and information system, and the governance and processes. So in today's speech, I will limit the discussion to the aspect of teaching and learning only. And we can discuss about other aspects, which is research, innovation, and community development for another occasion. A strategic program relating to educational digital transformation has been announced as ITB Education 4.0. So in brief, we would like to serve our students with the meaningful and inspiring learning experiences, as such that when they graduate, they turn into lifelong learners, mindful and humanistic team workforce, and ready to become future leaders. For us, the future is now. So how do we do this? Mainly by providing the following key foundation. First, we built a smart learning environment. We would like to nurture our students in a hybrid learning system, online, offline, and blended learning mode that provide learners with a joyful and meaningful learning process while achieving learning outcomes. Second, however smart a learning environment is, skillful, mindful, and inspiring educators are still the most important factors in shaping the learning outcomes of our students. That's why we invest a lot in reforming and upgrading the hard skills and soft skills of our faculty through various change management programs. We believe before creating great students, we have to be great educators first. Finally, our principle is to foster seamless education. We invest and upgrade our infrastructure and learning facilities to support easy access of learning content by all stakeholders. Learning in a smart learning environment should be challenging, but also joyful and meaningful. It should be effective, efficient, engaging, and inspiring. Our experiential learning is carried out in hybrid and blended mode. Therefore, throughout the learning process, not only the students demonstrate the learning outcomes, but they also to be engaged members of society who aspire for learning, lifelong learning. To cater for the growing needs of Education 4.0 features, we built our own LMS, which is called EduNext. This LMS has been requested to be deployed also for serving various programs of Directorate General of Higher Education of Indonesia. The LMS supports advanced features such as virtual lab, classroom response system, and AI-based essay grading system. One notable feature of our LMS, coupled with Cognitia mobile app running on Android and iOS iPad, is the anti-cheating exam system. This feature enables ITB to belong to high-integrity academic environment. Please note that the mobile devices may be owned by the students. Bring your own device or our institution. The shown picture here represents a student doing essay exam, writing on a piece of paper, taking photo of it to be uploaded as an answer onto our EduNext LMS. Please also note that the shown Android tablet in the picture is made by ITB. To support borderless and hybrid learning, the LMS is used anytime and from anywhere. During the teaching by educator from the classroom, the students has their turns, whether attending at the same classroom or outside the classroom through video conference app. This picture shows an example of virtual lab running on students' mobile devices. This virtual lab is connected and managed by the EduNext LMS. This is another virtual lab in the form of robotic arm. The robot is a result of multidiscipline collaborative research with the main objective as an experiential learning lab. In addition to fostering smart learning environment and providing seamless education, as I mentioned earlier, ITB gives a strong emphasis on getting the educators grade first. We continuously train and upgrade our educators so they possess and demonstrate the 7 habits of inspiring blended learning educators. Complying to the national policy of freedom of learning, independence of campus, our MBKM, Kampus Merdeka, ITB encourages its educators and students to engage in one of the program activities. This strengthens our multidiscipline interdiscipline, transdiscipline, and multi-campus policy of learning, research, and collaboration. Here are some examples among so many of such activities. ITB and UNPAD. UNPAD is another very reputable university in Bandung. We have collaborative projects. School of Business Management Technopreneurship Track and SAPPK, or the School of Policy and Architecture and Planner. They have a program called SAPPK Safe Space, and so on and so on. And that's all. A little bit introduction from Bandung, Indonesia. So have a great summit, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Rini. The Bandung Institute of Technology has collaborated with Huawei for more than a decade. We have collaborated extensively on ICT talent development, teacher training, the Huawei ICT competition, and the Huawei ICT talent job fair. We have learned about inspiring practices in Africa, Europe, and Asia. Now, let's envision the future. How will the rapid development of digital technology influence the education industry? How can technology enable innovative education? Let's now welcome Dr. Su Yunjin, Director of the Center for Development of Teaching and Learning at the National University of Singapore, to give his take on the trends in technology-enhanced teaching and learning.
Hi, welcome to my talk, Trends in Technology-Enhanced Teaching and Learning. I'll first spend some time to introduce the institute I'm from, which is National University of Singapore, and a little bit about myself. Then we actually share some ideas and thoughts about this topic in the later part of this particular presentation. So first of all, let me bring you to our very beautiful campus. This is actually University of Singapore, as you see here. There are 3 campuses. The 2 that you actually see here are the 2 so-called bigger ones. We will share with you some of the key information about our university. This is one of the 6 autonomous universities in Singapore. It's actually probably the largest. So I'll give you some rundown of the numbers. So these are some of our key information. This is our university is actually a comprehensive university, meaning that we have most of the faculty that you can find. So we have, of course, the science, the arts and social sciences, the computing, the business, the medicine, school of design, and so on and so forth. So we have 13 schools in total. And recent years, we actually have some interdisciplinary colleges. For example, we have we'll actually talk about myself. So this is my name. So I'm Yuan Jian. I actually serve in 2 units in our university. First, I'm the Director of Center of Development for Teaching and Learning, CDTL. So this is a unit that's actually at the university level, which provide development and training to our faculty member in terms of their teaching. And we actually support the university initiative in teaching and learning. For example, recently we migrate to a new learning management system, and we are actually helping to push this initiative around. So other than serving as the director in this unit CDTL, I'm actually an associate professor in the School of Computing under the Computer Science department. I was there and currently still am there for about 20 plus years and counting. So I mainly do teaching with modules from different years. And as my own interest, I'm actually very interested in tech-enhanced education. That's why I guess I'm very happy and honored that Huawei actually gave me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts in this particular topic. So what I'm going to share with you later on is actually just 4 ideas I guess the easiest way to actually destroy one's credibility is actually trying to predict the future, right? So I'm not going to do that kind of out of the box blue sky thinking, but rather I will just share with you some of the observation, right, of the technology that's already in use, but it's not widespread at the moment, right? So we'll share 4 ideas with you, which is actually listed here, right? The first one I'll talk about is actually the so-called self-directed personalized learning. The second one is called the mastery portfolio, and we will look at student analytics and feedback next. And finally, we'll talk about something known as beyond 2D. Right, so all of these may have other names, right, in your context. So I'll try my best to actually talk to talk about what they are and what is actually the benefit, right, to both the teachers, right, and the students. And most importantly, I will briefly discuss what is actually the technology that enables this. Right, some of the ideas here, right, the technology may have already been invented, right, or discovered, just that it's not actually being placed online yet, right, at the moment. Right? So the opportunity in this particular arena in order to try to meet some of these demands in the sense. Right, so first, let's take a look at this idea known as the self-directed personalized learning. So in traditional teaching, right, if you think about your primary school and secondary school, most of the subjects are actually taught in a very linear fashion, right? So once we actually learn the first idea, then you actually go on to learn the second idea, right? Once you actually learn enough, you progress to the third idea and fourth idea, right, at the end. Right, so most subjects actually assume there's a linear progression between the topic, regardless of how the students actually appreciate it. For example, here, right, let's say this is Da Chen, right, Mr. Chen, and then here we have Xiao Su, right, Miss Su here. They may have different level of understanding, right, or different pace of learning, but in the traditional learning, right, we can't actually cater for them. So in this particular idea, we essentially try to map up, right, the learning journey, right, of a particular student, right, in a particular subject. So instead of a linear progression, we think of it more like a map, right? So the idea here is that once you learn the first key idea, right, you actually can open up 2 separate ideas that you actually can learn independently, right? You can choose to go here first, or you actually can, of course, go here, right, first. Right, and more importantly, once you learn one of these, right, maybe you are ready to actually learn the third idea, right? So you don't need to learn every single thing. You can learn in your own order, and more importantly, you actually can explore further, right, if that's actually your interest, right? So this is known as the self-directed learning, meaning that you actually choose how to actually progress about your own learning. It's personalized because everyone will actually learn at different pace. And you may even learn different content or different kind of assessment or different kind of assignment tasks and so on and so forth. So for this particular idea, the key enabler for this one is that you probably need a pretty powerful learning management system, which actually provides some way for the instructor, right, to define this map, right, of learning, so that your materials, right, can be actually itemized, right, or actually put into a small unit so that student can actually learn this. You need to support some kind of unlocking and tracking mechanism so that you know that this Mr. Chen here has actually reached here via this particular path, and Miss Su here is actually doing a slower job, but then actually more thorough, right, going through all the topics. Right, you need this kind of unlocking and tracking, and eventually, right, once you actually have all the pieces in place, you may actually need some additional help, right, to recommend the correct path or the preferred path, right, to this particular student based on their preference and their performance, for example. Right, so on that front, maybe something look like an AI tutor, right, may works. Basically, it will tell this Miss Su here that, from your performance so far, it seems that this particular path will be more suitable for you, right? You may actually enjoy it more and things like that. Right, so that is actually the full idea of this self-directed personalized learning. Right, next, we'll look at some ideas that may be related, right, but actually discuss them in isolation because you probably can look at adoption, right, of each of the individual idea, right, without taking the full package, right, in a sense. So the second idea is known as the mastery portfolio. So at the moment, if you think about how we traditionally accreditate, right, or actually grade a student is essentially after a student complete a particular module or course, he or she will actually just receive a grade, like A for this particular subject, B minus for another subject, and so on and so forth. This actually has several drawbacks. Right? First of all, it's a very cost evaluation. Right? So this student may have done very, very well in other assignment, but then on the final, due to some issue, maybe she's not well, right? She's sick, and so on. That actually compromise, right, the particular performance, right? But this can't track it, right? And also inside a particular course, you may actually learn many different skill sets, right, and different topics. Right? So this is essentially trying to talk about your result, right, in just one number, right, or one grade, right? So what's actually possible is we actually want to have a more fine-grained portfolio for the student, or what we call the mastery portfolio, right? Meaning that each of these bar is actually a skill, right? So let's say, right, for simplicity, this is actually for writing, right? How good is this student writing? This may be about presentation, let's say, right? And each of them is a different skill set. Then in a particular course, right, you may have learned, right, up to this particular point, right, about your writing, and then from your performance, we know that you have accumulated this much of mastery. Then in another course, you actually can learn a little bit more and so on, or you can actually do your own study and so on, right, trying to crank this up, right, to a higher level, right? So this, first of all, track individual skill, right, of the student. And at the same time, you actually give a more complete picture of the capability of this student, right? So you can see that, oh, this student is pretty strong in writing and presentation, but maybe weaker in some other area. You can imagine that this will be a valuable tool for a future employer who is looking for a certain kind of employees that may not be a well all-rounder, right, but very strong in a particular area, right? So this is known as a mastery portfolio. Now, again, to enable this kind of portfolio, you again need some kind of a learning management system that you enable the instructor to indicate the mastery points. You need to be able to assess, right, the student, and then you can accumulate between the courses. And more importantly, this could be set up such that it's available to public. Of course, the student probably should agree to that. So that it's actually a valuable piece of information for the future employee, right? And the third one, right, is known as the student analytics and feedback. I guess this is actually not something very groundbreaking. So in the past, again, for a student, we only know the student performance and engagement about the course in only specific point in the course. For example, during the mid-semester test, right, then you see a score, right? Then you know how this student is performing, and then this may be the final exam, right? Then you actually know, oh, the student actually did very well, right, in the final exam. But you have no way to know how is this student performing throughout the course, and there are probably times, right, for example, this huge dip here, that you probably should be aware of and actually render appropriate feedback, right, and assistance, right, to the student, right, if possible. So what we actually need is actually a more fine-grained tracking system to track how the student is engaging with the course, right? For example, how often is this student viewing the material of the course? How long did this student actually go through the videos, let's say, whether he repeatedly watched a certain part of the video or whether he never actually watched the video, and so on and so forth. This actually allows the teacher to have a better understanding of the student and able to actually pinpoint the time, right, to render help, right, for the student. And finally, right, again, something not very groundbreaking is right now, right, the common way for us to provide information material to the student is still through the 2D slides or PDF, right, and so on and so forth, right, like what I'm doing here, right. So this is just a traditional slides. But of course, now technology actually enables us to actually bring, right, the course content, right, to beyond just this 2D flat material, right? So of course, in the past, we already have multimedia and so on, but those again are more passive material where the student will just sit there and consume them. But now you actually can have something known as an AR, right? That basically use some kind of viewing gadget. Right here is a handphone. that overlay information on top. Here you see a game, but you can imagine this actually can be used to teach, for example, civil engineering, to show some of the construct in the real world, show how what's the stress point and things like that. You can imagine this can be used to teach architecture, so on and so forth, right? And of course, on the other side, you can also look at virtual reality, where our colleagues in medicine has made a huge, very successful advancement in this particular area, where actually use a VR gadget, to actually view certain things in the virtual world. For example, the human body, you actually can tear down different layers, so that you can concentrate on maybe the blood vessels, maybe just the heart, right? Maybe just the liver, right? And so on and so forth, right? So this is actually another area where we actually see great advance in. In certain courses, this will make it much more meaningful to the student. Of course, for those courses, they are slightly more abstract. They are still have a problem of migrating to this, right? Because this probably doesn't make sense for them. For example, it may not make sense to try to use AR to teach programmer, right? Otherwise, we have done that, right, in a sense. Okay, so with that, I think it's a very quick run through of a few ideas that we think there's actually a potential, right, in near future. And some of these are already projects, right, or some of our colleagues in NUS have already tried it and attempting it, right? So I think we can actually see some of these ideas, right, flourishing, right, in near future. Right. So with that, thank you for your attention, right, and hopefully this actually interests you in some way.
Thank you, Dr. Su Yunjin. In 1992, the science fiction novel Snow Crash first mentioned the concept of the metaverse. As this concept has gained traction over the past 2 years, people are discussing whether the metaverse will really come into being. And will the metaverse be combined with education? Now let's welcome Mr. Bob Wang, CEO of the startup Pimax Technologies, to talk about this very interesting topic.
Hi, my name is Bob Wang, CEO of Pimax. I founded Pimax together with my team. The ultimate VR experience enables humans to become a multi-dimensional space-time species. It has been 8 years since Pimax was founded in 2014, and we are exploring various industries, including education, healthcare, safety, cultural tourism, and etc. VR technology is mainly used in high-tech industries. The education industry is a top priority for us at Pimax. In the future, the application of VR, AR, and metaverse in the education industry is of profound significance. Pimax has made explorations in the education industry, including elementary school, middle school, high school, and university, with different technology and education application scenarios at each stage. Ultimately, the application in universities is closely related to work. Today, I bring you a case of Pimax. Xikou Meili School of Economics of Quzhou University. It is located in Longyou County, Quzhou City, Zhejiang Province, and is a university branch. Pimax built a smart classroom with VR devices. This one is the Pimax 8K product. It has won and still holds a Guinness World Record. We did crowdfunding at Kickstarter in 2017. The classroom can accommodate nearly 40 students and is equipped with 8 VR devices that allow students to draw together, explore the starry sky and the universe, or enter a created space where they can learn. This year, we launched the 12K product, which is very leading in the world. Next, I will introduce the VR plus K-12 Smart Education System architecture. The data interaction platform distributes data to the VR devices for teachers and VR head-mounted display for students. We offer the VR device in disinfection cabinet and course development computer. This is the overall architecture. Parents can use this app to help the students learn. Here are some of our cases, including multifunctional VR classroom for creativity, VR classroom for experiments, VR classroom for interaction, VR classroom for entertainment, and VR classroom for innovation. This is the value of VR plus K-12 for smart teaching. There are 4 dimensions, including benefits for students, teachers, schools, and education administration departments, featuring travel through time and space, scenario simulation, immersive experience, and learning through stimulating activities. This is the K-12 education development trends globally. Countries around the world, including China, are investing heavily in smart education. The Chinese authorities have introduced guidelines to ease the burden of excessive homework and off-campus tutoring for students undergoing compulsory education. Next, I'd like to show you the application of VR in K-12 smart teaching. VR Smart Teaching Management System, VR 3D course resources, VR course development tools, and VR hardware devices, and etc. The VR Smart Classroom can support one-to-many interactive teaching management and authentically reflect the abstract and difficult knowledge points of K-12 education subjects, making the knowledge in books vivid and build a highly simulated and explorable VR environment for in-depth teaching and learning. At present, we have developed more than 1,000 VR 3D course resources covering elementary school, middle school, high school, and other stages. In middle school physics classes, we use VR to understand the Kepler's law of planetary motion and show the principles and discovery process of Kepler's law. This lets students experience the excitement of the scientific forefathers in exploring knowledge. In a middle school chemistry course, Composition of Air, we can learn the air composition and the characteristics of various gases in the microworld in an intuitive way, making cognition of the microworld no longer a fantasy. In geography class, we'll fly to the space to explore the mysteries of the sun and the 9 planets in the solar system. In elementary school mathematics classes, students can learn and understand the complex recursive calculation and deduction of the Tower of Hanoi in a short time.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. It's amazing that children will be able to learn about things as diverse as space and the depths of the ocean through the metaverse. We look forward to a new era of education enabled by the metaverse. As a leading global ICT infrastructure and smart device provider, Huawei is also actively exploring how to use innovative technology to enable innovation in education. And now, Mr. Jackie Wang, Chief Architect of Huawei's Institute of Strategic Research, will discuss the possibilities of combining technology with education.
Today, let's discuss the topic Digital Technologies Enable Intelligent Education. I'm Jackie Wang. from Huawei Institute Strategy Research. I'm Chief Architecture. Future education will be fair, high quality, efficient, personalized, and intelligent. Facing the future, education will be different from the original. Teaching will be transferred from experience-based to digital supported. Learning will be personalized. Resources will be intelligent push. Educational management will be transferred from school to region integration. We hope to realize that every student has a digital patient. Every teacher has an artificial intelligent assistant. Every course has a knowledge map and personalized. How to support fair to every student? How to act the smart home and smart schools will be used every new technologies to support smart learning, smart education, smart assessment, and smart campus. And let every student have better future. How to support with the new technology? Let's watch a 2 minutes video.
This is the best of times. All things are connected. All things are sensors. All are intelligent. This is exhilarating. It is fortunate to live in this intelligent age, no matter in a hustling city or in the remote mountains. All children can receive education from leading teachers, although far away.
Who can tell us what the symbolic technology of the second industrial revolution is?
Transformation, high definition, real-time interaction, and cloud technology make the ultimate learning experience possible. Additionally, technology accompanies children at every step. In the PE class, smartwatches are the best assistants. By recording and analyzing children's sports information, they help teachers better conduct student health management and physical education. Back at home, based on the student study, teachers have recommended extracurricular content. By opening the Smart Education application through cross-screen collaboration and group discussion, students can discuss with each other. AI becomes students' learning partner and assists their individual growth.
Xiaoyi, what should I do to become an astronaut? 2 learning paths are provided for you.
Through technology, students learn more happily and efficiently. Technology enhances the experience of participation. The virtual profession feature makes children to experience their dreams, to prepare a comprehensive development for future, and enable parents to watch their children's growth path in advance. The future has come. Cloud, 5G, AI, big data, and other technologies make online-offline integrated education, digital profiling, AI assistant, student analysis, individual teaching, and comprehensive evaluation possible. Teachers and students can initiate learning, live broadcasting, and interactions anytime and anywhere on a variety of devices. Huawei is committed to enabling education with technology, bringing smart education to every child, family, and school.
Huawei will focus on new technologies enable intelligent education. We will give every student, every teachers, and all professors with one portal. We will be unified one cloud to support different services to students, to schools, to classroom, to teachers. We also will integrate different technologies together with one platform, including AI, 5G, IoT, etc. We also will unified multi-network together, support with smoothly network, including 5G, optical, Wi-Fi, etc. To every people, students, teachers, professors will be give different screens together with smartphone, with whiteboard, with computer together. Now, let's overview Huawei Intelligent Education Solutions. We have 4 aspects. Y is for smart campus. Y is for smart classroom and scientific research. We also served 65,000 students every year. Using our smart education solution, promoting education quality and equality through the digital technologies. Y case in Qiaojia County, Yunnan Province. We will support them with one cloud, multi-network coverage, and multi-screen adaptations to support Qiaojia students. To every student have learned on the cloud with multi-screen adaptations. We joined intelligent education innovations with different schools, which like Suzhou University on cloud. We also support 5G and AI with Tsinghua University Higher School. We also serve with our smart campus to KFUPM University in Saudi Arabia and support more than 10,000 teachers and students. Using new technology enable intelligent education, Huawei enabling the digital transformation of global education. We served more than 70 countries, 2,600 universities. We also served more than 500,000 primary and middle schools. We cooperate with our 32 partners together serve our customers. Huawei is committed to enabling education through technologies. Our education vision is bring intelligent education to every student, every home, and every school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. We believe that education will be more efficient, personalized, and smarter as networks, AI, big data, and other technologies are integrated with all types of education activities, such as teaching, learning, evaluation, and management. Dear guests, thank you so much for your wonderful insights. You've shared with us some of the leading practices from around the world, as well as your vision of how education will develop. Digital technology is a key enabler for us to approach many of the challenges we face from external factors. Advances in digital technology will promote more inclusive education and increase its resilience in resolving challenges in both normal and crisis situations, such as the pandemic. They will also help create new models and practices in education. Let's work together to promote the transformation of education with digital technology to give students access to education equity and quality to ensure that no one is left behind in the digital world. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today's summit. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.